Happy Tuesday. At some point, I'm actually going to find a set time. At some point, I'm going to find a set time to be on here. Haven't really found my rhythm yet for Tuesday evenings, so here we are. Um, Happy Tuesday. I'm Dominique, and tonight I'm here to read some word, per usual. And I won't be before you long because it's already 8:30, and a few other reasons, but that's one of the primary reasons. I'm gonna test my sound and allow this to warm up. I'm also pulling up on my laptop the Bible Gateway website just in case I need the King James Version of what I'll be reading tonight. And let me pull up YouTube. Let's see here. So last week, and actually, I want to say for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, I read and covered Judges 6 through 8. I finished up last week, and that was the story of Gideon. And honestly, I'm still looking at my notes from that, like just last night. And yeah, and I just want to keep going back to that until I really feel like I really got it. But that's what I covered last week, and that is a part of this study series that I've been doing called Nothing to Something. And this series is mm, uh, just me going through the word and pulling up examples of the ways that God has taken nothing and turned it into something. And this all started because actually, I don't really know how this started or how I came to this point, but I'm here now, invested. And so I initially covered just a brief recap in the Nothing to Something series. So the first week was Genesis, the beginning, because when you start, you got to start from the beginning. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and earth from nothing. So that, and then the second week, Sarah and Abraham, their story, about how God came in even at their old age and allowed them to bless them with Isaac, uh, because there's nothing too hard for the Lord. And then over the course of the last few weeks, I've covered Gideon, which we know that Gideon, well, something about Gideon's story, it sits with me, and it's with me now, and I relate to him in so many ways. Um, Gideon, the least in his family, um, and his tribe, or his family being the least in the tribe of Manasseh, was used and called by God to save Israel. Someone who is Gideon? Who is he? And so that's what we settled on for the last 3 weeks. And it was actually, oh, I've been talking this long and I did not check my sound. I gotta get this right. I gotta get this right. So in 1 second, let me make sure I'm gonna get together. It's going to come together. It's going to come together. Let me see. Just want to make sure that I can hear me. I have my mic here, but it's actually laying down. So I'm gonna test it out and see if do I need to hold it or what? Oh, but it's actually laying down. I don't think I need to actually hold the mic. This is okay. Oh, this is okay. I don't necessarily need to hold it. I was thinking about that last week. Anyway, just a little troubleshooting on my end. Excuse me. So Gideon, where I left off last week, and excuse me, I'm actually still studying those notes. I hope you all are as well. If anyone was on the last few weeks when we studied Gideon, I hope that you were able to go back and read it for yourself and just hear a word from the Lord. Uh, Gideon was I separated over the course of 3 weeks because when I went to go read it, it just was number one. It's not a short read, but also I felt that I needed to stay there a while. I'm like, I feel like this is one that I need to not do all in one setting, and so that's that. Now tonight, I am not going to dig deep into this because I haven't actually done the studying that I would like to do. And so I want to really get into this. So I think tonight, what I'm going to do is just read a little bit of First Samuel, um, because that's where we're headed next, unless God leads me another way. And I'm going to read up to uh, I'm going to read from 1, and I believe I'm going to go through verse 20. Uh, this is a short read, and so I don't see myself settling on this one for a long time, like with Gideon, but we'll see what God does. Lord, have your way. Lord, have your way. So, yes, that's what I'm going to do tonight. Really, just more so of a reading, but we'll see what happens. So, tonight, I'll be picking up in the Nothing to Something series with Hannah. Hannah. So if you're, I don't know if you're familiar. If you're not, great. Hannah, her story begins in First Samuel, starting with chapter 1, and similar to Gideon's story, you don't really hear about Hannah before you get to First One of Samuel. Of course, please fact check me via the word if you have something contrary to what I just said. I'm cool. Hey, as far as I know, in my reading, this is the first time I've seen Hannah. Neither here nor there at this point, I guess, but that is where we're going to pick up. And by the end of this, I would like to have gotten to a point where I can fully explain how it, like, why her story is in this study series. Okay, so that's all I got. I'm going to jump in. I'm reading from the New Century Version. If you have your Bibles, please read along. Or if you don't, that's okay. Turn up the volume. And I'm going to go ahead and start now. All right, so starting from verse 1, it says, uh, there was a man, and please forgive me with the names. I got a little sheet here to help me with the names. But what did I do with it? Oh, I took all that time to write those names down, and I don't even know what I did with it. But I'm going to do my best with the names tonight. We'll revisit this. All right, so there was a man named Elkanah, son of Jeroham, from Ramathaim, in the mountains of Ephraim. Elkanah was from the family of Zuph. Jehoram was Elihu's son. Bear with me, there's some names here. Elihu was Tohu's son, and Tohu was the son of Zuph from the family group of Ephraim. Elkanah had 2 wives named Hannah and Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had none. Verse 3, every year, Elkanah left his town of Ramah and went up to Shiloh to worship the Lord all-powerful and to offer sacrifices to him. Shiloh, the place where they go to worship. Shiloh was where Hophni and Phinehas, the son of Eli, served as priests of the Lord. When Elkanah offered sacrifices, he always gathered. Whoop, sorry, y'all, misreading here. When when Elkanah, excuse me, verse verse 4, when Elkanah offered sacrifices, he always gave a share of the meat to his wife, Peninnah, and to her sons and daughters. But Elkanah always gave a special share of the meat to Hannah because he loved Hannah and because the Lord had kept her from having children. Peninnah would tease Hannah and upset her because the Lord had made her unable to have children. This happened every year when they went up to the house of the Lord at Shiloh. Peninnah would upset Hannah until Hannah would cry and not eat anything. Her husband Elkanah would say to her, Hannah, why are you crying and why won't you eat? Why are you sad? Don't I mean more to you than 10 sons? Gonna pause there and do just a little light recap because again, I go through this whole thing. That's my plan. We'll see what God does. My plan is to go through it again. But just a light recap of what's happening here and who's involved. Elkanah, a man, and his family is from the tribe of Ephraim, in a tribe of Israel, and he's got two wives, Hannah and Peninnah. So Hannah cannot have children, similar to Sarah, except Hannah's age isn't mentioned here, so I don't I don't know that she would have been old like Sarah was. So Peninnah had children, but Hannah did not. So every year they would go up to Shiloh, offer to worship the Lord and to offer sacrifices to the Lord. And every year when they would go, Peninnah would tease and make fun of Hannah, really kind of bully her, you know, um, because she couldn't have children. So it was like, I have children, you don't, type of thing. That's the way I'm taking it, y'all. Read it for yourself. Uh, and so every year when they would go, that's what would occur. And of course, uh, Hannah, this made Hannah so sad that she wouldn't even eat. She would be crying. Her husband Elkanah would give a special portion of the meat. He would give meat to his other wife and their children, but he gave a special portion of the meat to Hannah because he loved her. He loved her, and so we know that he probably, when I read up on this, it said that Hannah may have more than likely would have been Elkanah's first wife. But because she was unable to have children back in those times, usually if your wife can't have children, then the husband would go and, though it's, I don't know, it's outlined in scripture to do that, but would go and take another wife so that he could have children. This is just what I read in my research. Of course, go ahead and read it for yourself, research for yourself, pray on it. But that's what I have here. But anyway, so we know that Elkanah loved Hannah. He loved her, gave her an extra portion of the meat, and he knew that the Lord had decided that, Hannah, you're not going to have children. It's not your portion. It's not for you. And it was the Lord's will. And so that's why Elkanah was softer and a little bit more sweeter to Hannah. Either way, it didn't matter because Hannah was deeply sad about this. She was getting picked on and mistreated by the other wife, Peninnah, because of this. Moving on to verse 9. Once after they had eaten their meal, and actually, I'm going to pull up the King James to make sure. I believe there was one verse that I wanted to cover in King James Version. I just want to make sure that I don't miss that one. Bear with me. There we go. So, verse 9 it says, Once after they had eaten their meal in Shiloh, Hannah got up. Now, Eli, the priest, was sitting on a chair near the entrance to the Lord's house. Hannah was so sad that she cried and prayed to the Lord. I settled here just briefly, but I settled here for a moment. She made a promise saying, Lord, all powerful, see how sad I am. Remember me and don't forget me. If you will give me a son, I will give him back to you all his life. And no one will ever cut his hair with a razor. While Hannah kept while Hannah kept praying, that girl was praying. While Hannah kept praying in verse 12, Eli watched her mouth. She was praying in her heart, so her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Eli thought she was drunk and said to her, Stop getting drunk. Throw away your wine. Hannah answered, No, sir, I have not drunk any wine or beer. I am a deeply troubled woman, and I was telling the Lord about all my problems. Don't think I am an evil woman. I have been praying because I have many troubles and am very sad. Ah, verse 17, Eli answered, Go, I wish you well. May the God of Israel give you what you asked of him. Hannah said, May I always please you. When she left and ate something, she was not sad anymore. Early the next morning, verse 19, Elkanah's family got up and worshiped the Lord. Then they went back home to Ramah. Elkanah had sexual relations with his wife Hannah, and the Lord remembered her. So Hannah became pregnant, and in time she gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel. She named him Samuel, saying, His name is Samuel because I asked the Lord for him. Wonderful. Okay, so I am going to go back to, let me see here, King James. And let me see, let me type this in again because for some reason it did not pick it up. But don't worry about it, I got it. All right, so First Samuel, and let me see, this is chapter 1. And I'm going to go to the King James Version again. All right, so that is honestly, you get the gist pretty much there of what happened with Hannah. But there's a little bit more here through going into chapter 2. And so, of course, my plan is to cover that as well. But for tonight, I'll go back to where I settled because this is kind of how I study. This is how I study for the most part. If there's something that I settle on, I don't necessarily like to move forward until I really, really get what I believe God is showing me or saying to me, or, you know, so I want to go back here to the part that I settled on tonight. Um, so verse 9. Once after they had eaten their meal in Shiloh, Hannah got up. Something so simple. That part settled on me, and I often find that the things that settle on me are related to the things that I am that's going on in my life, or that have gone on, or maybe that will come up in the future. But a lot of times, it resonates with me deeply when I'm seeing myself here. I'm like, God is helping me through His Word. And so when I saw Hannah got up, I'm like, okay. I'm feeling like, okay, Hannah had been crying year after year, going through the situation with the other wife being cruel and unkind, married to a loving husband, but still sad because of what's going on. She's unable to have children, and then she's got to hear about it and see somebody else's children. Crazy. So she got up. That part settled on me because Hannah got up, but what she did next, she got up to go pray. She got up to go talk to the Lord about it. This the one. This is the one for me. She got up to talk to the Lord about it. And so I appreciate just the real time example. Like she's sad about something, she got up to go talk to God. And in verse 10, it says, I have the King James Version up now, and it says, verse 10. Oh no, this is MSG, y'all. I know it's MSG. Now I have King James. It says, and so Hannah rose up, verse 9 in King James. It says, so Hannah rose up after they had eaten in Shiloh, and after they had drunk. Now Eli the priest sat up at a seat, upon a seat by a post of the temple of the Lord. In verse 10 it says, and she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed unto the Lord, and wept sore. In my Bible, it says, Hannah was so sad that she cried and prayed to the Lord. She made, let me go back. She was so sad that she cried and prayed to the Lord. I appreciate in my Bible, of course, I have a youth Bible, it breaks it down for me. The wording here I appreciate because it says, Hannah was so sad that she cried and prayed to the Lord. And so it's just a reminder for me that in these moments where, it could just be as simple as just, my day could have been better. Work was a little, eh, or stuff undone in my apartment, things need to be done, the list of things that I gotta do. It could be as simple as those things, or it could be something like a crisis, something going on um, beyond what you can even like. You can't do anything about this big issue. It's out of your hands. There's nothing you can do about it. Um, these situations can be very troubling, especially we're talking about these types of situations like with Hannah, unable to have children, married, and going through some problems that don't seem like it's gonna go away. She went to the Lord in prayer for this big problem. She was so sad. It says bitterness of soul. She was really deeply troubled by this. And she went to the Lord. And I just this just settled on me because I go in prayer to God, and God is helping me to go more often for everything, not just for the big things, but everything in between. And so this passage really helps me to just a great reminder that that is where we should go. Like that's what we should do. Get up, go and pray. Get up, go talk to the Lord about it. That is our source. That's the answer. Um, my girl went up and she got up and went to the Lord. I love it. Okay, so um and she was going through it. So verse 11, she made a vow to the Lord. Um and she told the Lord that let me see. Nope, she says verse 11, she made a promise saying, Lord all powerful, see how sad I am. Like just talking to the Lord, just telling her what's on her heart. See, God, I'm sad. I'm sad about it. Lord, I'm frustrated. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. Oh, I have prayed that prayer, y'all. I'm disappointed. At some point last year, or I think it was last year, I don't know, but I had a moment where I prayed to God and I said, Lord, my heart is broken. Like, God, you know what's in my heart. Like, you know everything about me. So, like, literally, you know what I'm feeling right now. And I don't really always have the words to describe how I feel if I'm going through some go through. Um, but I do recall that instance where I said, God, I just my heart, help me in my heart, God, because it's hurting. It's broken. This is an instance where Hannah said, God, I'm sad. Um, it says, King James, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thine handmaid and remember me. She's going through it. Hey, I don't know about y'all, but we got those moments sometimes where we're going through it. And she says, uh, she's asking me now, if you would give me a son, I will give him back to you all his life. And no one will ever cut his hair with a razor. And so it's like, uh, she went to God out of her sadness and this just bitterness of soul is what it says here. She that drew her to God. Ah, sometimes I mentioned this recently, and the things that I mentioned a lot of times, y'all, are things that I actually go through and have gone through, um, overcome by the blood of the Lamb. So the issue, which this is a big, big issue, and some of us are really going through some trying times right now. And I mentioned this a few weeks ago. This issue, or the big issues of life, are not supposed to push us away from God, but pull us in to draw us closer to Him. Like we're supposed to, and mind you, I'm saying supposed to because that's what we're seeing here, a real live example of what has happened. She's not running away. She's not withdrawing, going in, which sometimes I do. You know, going in, going into your heart, going into your head, overthinking, being upset, that lump in your chest. This is a really clear example of having a really crazy issue, hard problem, sad, and still going to God about it. And not just going to God about it, but she's going to God with a specific request. Not just, Lord, help. No, she is coming to God. Lord, if you will bless me with a son, give me a child, not just any child, give me a son. Bless me with a son, and I will do this, X, Y, and Z. And Granny always says, my granny, she says to me, um, like when you pray, when you go to God, like we had this conversation not long ago. She said, she told me to whatever I want, whatever I need, I can ask God for anything. She said, you don't serve a puny God. That's a quote. She said, you don't serve a puny God. Whatever you need, go to God and ask Him. Ask God for whatever it is and be specific. That's one thing that she says, and she keeps telling me over the years, be specific. And she's telling me what she knows because she has experienced it. I I was specific in this request. I asked God for this, and this. And at the end of it, you seal that prayer with, Lord, let your will be done, not mine. This is what Granny always tells me, y'all. And so this is a clear example. This is not, it's not Granny's word. It's the word. We're seeing it here. If you will give me a son, I will give him back all I will give him back to you all his life. Specific prayer to God during a really trying time, but she went to the Father, all powerful. And she addresses God as so all powerful, Lord of hosts. That's who you are. You made everything. God, I know I can come to you because there's nothing, Abraham and Sarah, there is nothing too hard for you. Sometimes things seem really hard, but there's nothing too hard for God. And so this is a message that has been repeated through the last few passages that I've read, in one way or another. But that's the part that settled with me. And then also when she got down to, excuse me, when I got down to verse 12 and 13, when Eli the priest was watching her pray, it says, this is so important. So it says that Hannah's lips were moving as she was praying, but she was praying in her heart. So there were no words coming out of her mouth, but her lips were moving. Um, in the King James Version, it says, verse 13, excuse me, verse 12 and 13, and it came to pass as she continued praying before the Lord that Eli marked her mouth. He was watching her mouth. Now, Hannah, verse 13, now Hannah, she spake in her heart. Only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore, Eli thought she had been drunken. He thought she was drunk. He thought she was on that wine because she was standing there, or however she was in position. She was there praying to the Lord inwardly, and her lips were moving. I don't know if maybe her eyes were closed and she was just, but her, her lips are moving, but she's not saying, like, the words are not audible. Um, And so someone looking on, Eli looking on, thought, what is she, ma'am? Get out of here with that. And she had to let him know, it's too early in the morning for me to be drunk. I'm not drinking. Um, sorry, that's Peter who said that in Acts, because they thought they were drunk too. And it was the Spirit of the Lord. I digress. Okay, so Hannah answered, verse 15. She said, "No, my lord, I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have poured out my soul before the Lord." Praying, pray in the way that you're supposed to be praying, however you're led to pray. Excuse me. Sometimes we're not always in a private setting. We can always pray wherever we're at. Wherever we're at, we can always pray. I appreciate the, just, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it. But I just the visual here of Hannah praying without speaking, but praying in her heart to the Lord. And we know that God hears her prayer. God heard her prayer even though she wasn't saying anything out of her mouth. God hears us even in our hearts. I was praying tonight when I got off work, and I was praying audibly, but then at one point, I don't know why I did this, but I switched. It's like I switched, and then I continued to pray, but I would stop speaking and I was praying in my heart. And I don't know why I did that, but that happens from time to time. I will pray in my heart. I'm praying without speaking. But God still hears. And sometimes, I said this a few weeks ago as I was going through it, y'all. Sometimes life is so crazy and life is what it's going to be. Sometimes for me, I've experienced that my eyes are too focused on my problems, and sometimes it gets hard for me to even pray. And there are moments that I have experienced where I want to pray because I know I need to pray. And I know God is the answer always in everything. But because I'm so in my heart upset or frustrated or sad about something or waiting on an answer, or, something's out of my control, I'm so in the feeling and the emotions that I'm like, "Ugh, I don't even know what to pray." And so I'm just like, ugh, I know I need to pray, but what? I just can't even. I feel like I'm just so overwhelmed with emotion. I don't even know what to say. I don't know if this is Hannah's case, if this is the scenario of her just being so filled with sorrow about this problem that she just had to pray in her heart. That's what she could was able to do. That's what I can do. I can pray in my heart to the Lord, and that's what she did. And so, be encouraged. I'm encouraged to continue to bring everything to God in prayer, everything to God in prayer, and even in those moments where we feel emotionally we're deeply saddened or stuff is going on, pray in your heart to the Lord. Pray in your heart to the Lord, and just as Hannah did, and God hears us. That's what I'm taking away here for myself. Um, yeah. And so, uh, pour out your heart to the Lord. We know Psalm 62 and 8 is the one reference to pouring our hearts to God. Again, just telling God all of our problems, our troubles. And Eli wished her well and sent her on in peace. But I'll stop there because I didn't expect to go that deep into this. But uh, yeah, continue, y'all, to read your word, stay in prayer. Um, and I know I need to do the same every single day, every single day. And so that's where I'll stop here for now. And I haven't really touched on the nothing to something piece, but God willing, I'll pick this back up and finish Hannah's story here. Well, this portion of her story in First Samuel. But anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful night. And God willing, I will see you next Tuesday. Bye.